Fabled Heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The Unexpected Guest. Chapter 1. I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. The vibration seemed to reverberate through my entire body, jolting me awake from a deep sleep. I groggily reached over to silence it, but as soon as I sat up in bed, my gaze landed on him. He stood at the foot of my bed, his back against the wall, his arms crossed over his chest. His piercing blue eyes seemed to be studying me, and for a moment we just stared at each other. The air was thick with tension, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. My mind foggy from sleep, I took a deep breath and tried to process what was happening. Who was this person? And why was he in my room? I rubbed the sleep from my eyes, hoping that when I opened them again, he'd be gone. But no such luck. He remained standing there looking like he owned the place. The smell of his cologne wafted through the air, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. It was a scent I knew well, yet couldn't quite place. My skin prickled with goosebumps as I tried to remember anything about this person. Was it a memory from a past life? A dream? Or something more? Can you tell me who you are, and what you're doing in my bedroom? I asked, trying to sound more awake than I felt. He didn't say a word, but instead raised an eyebrow as if to say, "You really don't remember?" I shook my head. "No, I don't. Look, I'm tired, so if you could just leave, I'd appreciate it." His expression turned thoughtful, and he took a step forward. My heart skipped a beat at the sudden movement. "Wait," I said, holding up a hand. "What's going on?" He paused, his eyes locking onto mine, and for a moment, I felt like he was trying to convey something through sheer willpower. Then with a slight nod, he turned around and walked out of my room, leaving me feeling more confused than ever. I flopped back onto the bed, staring at the ceiling as if hoping some answers would magically appear there. But they didn't. Chapter 2. I spent the rest of the morning trying to shake off the lingering unease from the previous night's encounter. It wasn't easy, especially when my phone kept buzzing with mysterious calls and texts. The air was thick with an unsettling energy, making it hard for me to focus on anything else. I felt like I was walking on eggshells, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But then, just as I was about to give up on trying to get some work done, there was a knock at the door. My heart skipped a beat. Was he back? I hesitated for a moment before getting out of bed and making my way to the front door. But when I opened it, I wasn't expecting what I saw. It was him again, but this time with a bouquet of flowers in his hand and a charming smile on his face. The smell of fresh-cut roses wafted through the air, and I felt a pang of something like nostalgia. What was going on here? "Good morning," he said, holding out the flowers. "I brought you some apologies." My mind reeled as I stared at the flowers, unsure how to react. Apologies? For what? But before I could say anything, he stepped forward and handed me the bouquet. His hand brushed against mine as he did so, sending a jolt of electricity through my body. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How was this possible? This guy showed up out of nowhere and suddenly we had some kind of history? "What do you want?" I asked, trying to sound firm but feeling anything but confident. Chapter 3. It took every ounce of willpower I possessed not to freak out as the guy sat down on my couch, looking like he owned the place. The air was heavy with an unspoken understanding between us. It was like we were two people who'd been separated for years and were finally reunited, but in a way that didn't feel quite right. "What do you want?" I asked again, trying to keep my tone firm but feeling more and more uncertain by the minute. He leaned back into the cushions, a self-satisfied smile spreading across his face. "I want to explain what's going on," he said. "You see, we have a history." History? What was he talking about? But before I could ask any questions, Luna sauntered out of the kitchen and jumped onto my lap, purring loudly as if trying to calm me down. The guy looked at us both and chuckled. "Looks like she's on your side," he said. I glared at him. "What are you talking about?" He leaned forward, his eyes locked onto mine with an unnerving intensity. "We've been through a lot together, you and I. And we're not done yet." Chapter 4. I waited for what felt like an eternity before hearing his footsteps fade away into silence. And then, with a deep breath, I let out a sigh of relief. It was over. He'd left. and maybe, just maybe, my life could go back to normal now. But as I looked down at Luna, who was staring up at me with an expectant expression on her face, I knew that was a lie. As the minutes ticked by, I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. What had just happened? And what did he mean by, "We have a history"? I tried to brush it off as some kind of weird dream or hallucination. But deep down I knew it wasn't that simple. There was something about him, his eyes, his smile, the way he seemed to know me. But how?